RJ Harvey, the potential starting running back for the Denver Broncos, has been impressing head coach Sean Payton. We're going to talk about his potential impact and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, we got a fun one. RJ Harvey is shining for the Denver Broncos in training camp. The second round pick at running back. Yep. Second round pick, Denver Broncos. He's been doing well. We're going to talk about his potential impact and could he end up being their RB1, battling with J.K. Dobbins. Adonai Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell struggles throughout training camp. The second-year receiver for the Indianapolis Colts has been very up and down this training camp. We're going to talk about that. And then Trey Harris has been impressing for the Los Angeles Chargers. We expect him to step into one of those starting roles in those three wide receiver sets with Justin Herbert, Lamb McConkey, and Quentin Johnston. Let's start with RJ Harvey. Keith, RJ Harvey, man, a guy we both liked. And, coming out of the draft, I was a little critical of the pick because I felt like they were bigger and more suited backs for a bell cow role on the board, like a Caleb Johnson, different guys like that. Damian Martinez, who I think I had graded higher than RJ, but RJ was definitely a dynamic, just change of pace back. Probably the only guy that really rivaled him in footwork to me was DJ Giddens. That was the only guy that I think that rivaled him in terms of jump cutting, making guys miss in the alley, things like that. Probably the top two elusive backs in the draft. And that's a draft that has Ashton Jeanty in it. Those are the top two backs for me in terms of making guys miss. But he had a run, I think it was 2 days ago, where Sean Payton said, yeah, no, that run was something else. We all, some of the coaches kind of looked at each other and just kind of shook our heads. And he was like, basically, he's been giving him just a glowing review. And when you think about what this means, they have J.K. Dobbins, who last year with the Chargers, J.K. Dobbins almost ran for 1,000 yards coming back. You know what I mean? From battling those injuries and everything that plagued him in Baltimore. RJ Harvey and his ability to catch the ball out the backfield, I think that's where it's going to really put him as the potential starter. And if he does, even if he doesn't start, he's going to be, it might be like the NBA six-man. Like you don't start, but you end up with 34 minutes played during the game. You know what I mean? Like you play starter minutes, you may not start the game off. Either way, I think RJ Harvey is poised right now for a big role with this Denver Broncos offense.
Yeah, I would without a doubt agree with that. And you talk about his synopsis, right? I think even when I first watched him, right, and I was like, DP, I think you're gonna enjoy him. This guy might have the best footwork in this entire class. And I was like, this dude can ball. And so I had a high grade coming on him, coming into the NFL draft, and he went high, right? Second round. And what people have to remember is, we talk about this before, but Sean Payton's willingness to use running backs. I think when people think Sean Payton, they think Drew Brees so much, right? In which they had legendary Hall of Fame career together. But you have to think about those ancillary pieces of the running backs in different versions, right? The Deuce McAllisters, the Reggie Bush, the Pierre Thomas, the Chris Ivorys, like so many different running backs played. Darren Sproles was in New Orleans for a while, right? So many different running backs served different roles. And Sean Payton, he's probably thinking, hey, Reggie Bush, Darren Sproles, Pierre Thomas, I may have all of that kind of wrapped into one guy, right? And what I'm saying is that when I look at RJ Harvey, he's not a tall running back, right? He's probably, shorter in stature, similar to Darren Sproles, right? He's a good pass catcher like Darren Sproles and Pierre Thomas. But also we've seen the 40 time, what did he run? I want to say a 4.4 or 4.3?
4.4, I think 4.42.
Yeah.
I think he ran like 4.44 somewhere there.
That's good speed, right? He's fast.
Mhm.
And so you get the electricity also out of him. So I agree with you. And it's something that Sean has always done, ran a two-back system, right? Running backs have, like, he's always played multiple running backs. I foresee starting the season, it'll probably be some type of split, and then RJ Harvey may start to get more and more of a workload as he gets more and more comfortable, just, him being a rookie
Yeah.
and wanting to implement him. But am I surprised that he's shining? No, because the
No.
guy was that talented. We discussed him, but the overall media part didn't discuss this running back from UCF. It's like, well, we're about to talk about him a lot in the NFL.
No, 100%. It can't, like, for those who don't know his height, he's 5'9", 208 pounds. You know what I mean? He's got that short bowling ball, squatty build, low center of gravity, hard to get lower, to be the lower man in that in those
Against you.
tackling situations against him. And then he has the footwork where it's so clean, it's so crisp, but it's so sudden to where he leaves you grasping for air. And then he's upfield getting another 10, 15 yards, technically, if you want to call it after contact, but you probably didn't touch him as he worked past you. And I think that's going to be the thing. And I think this is going to be a two-back system where, J.K. Dobbins still show, even though he's had the knee issues and stuff like that, he still showed good juice and good acceleration last year. This is going to be and at the end of the day, I think what Sean Payton has done is said, listen, I got a lot out of Bo Nix last year. Now, the numbers were a little misleading. People thought he just, like, absolutely killed them. Like, there was some stuff built in that was just, like, easy reads and throws and stuff like that. Shout out to Sean Payton, one of the best to ever do
it. It looked like Oregon offense. There was some of Oregon offense that was put into that.
Which, let's be honest, more OCs and play callers should take what the players do well in college and implement it into your system. It just helps
Seems like a noble idea.
But hey, listen, there's nobody cockier than the NFL OC, man. They're gonna run their stuff. So I think
I was laughing at a couple of days ago. I was watching Zach Ertz. They did the training camp thing, and they're sitting down interviewing him and stuff like that. And he was who was he talking about? He's talking about Cliff Kingsbury, and he was just kind of praising him. He's like, you know what he does? Because he just simply gives his players what they do best. And he's like, and I know that seems pretty obvious, but not a lot of coaches do that. And I was like, wow.
We've said that on this pod. I feel like a lot. We've talked about the fact that the NFL is known for not doing the actual best for young players or just players in general. It's like, hey, you're going to run my offense, even though it doesn't fit your skill set, we're still going to run it. And it was like, don't really think that makes a lot of sense, man. I think you should implement what I do well so you can get the best out of me. Like, I'm an investment. What return are you looking for? And I think what Sean Payton is doing is understanding, like, we got to the playoffs last year. Bo Nix played well. I did everything I set out to do last year. Now, what do we know? The NFL is big on, it just takes us an offseason to pick up what you did and we have a counter for it. We have an answer for it. So instead of sending Bo Nix out there to throw the ball 35 times a game, 40 times a game, no, we're going to run this rock. We're going to have two running backs that we can hand the ball off to. And with Bo Nix's ability and willingness to dump it off to his underneath options, RJ Harvey may not be the number one read in the progression, but if everything downfield is covered, Bo Nix is coming right to him in the flats because if they're playing zone, they're playing off, and he's got 5 yards of space, he's going to dump it off and let RJ Harvey work. And I think that's what's so exciting about RJ Harvey in this Denver Broncos offense is because he's going to get the carries and the opportunities there. But this is also a team that will throw the ball to I think Javonte Williams got a lot of receptions last year, and he's nowhere near the type of player in space that RJ Harvey is. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for what this is going to be. Again, I'll admit, I came on here, I was critical because I was like, because there was two picks I was critical of, RJ Harvey and Pat Bryant. I was like, I feel like you reached a little bit. I feel like you could have got him a little later. But as long as it works out, you know what I mean? The result is the result. I can't argue with it. So for me, man, I think RJ Harvey, whether or not he becomes a starter out the gate at week 1, we'll see. I think the one thing I do want to see once we get to preseason and how much he plays is going to be the pass protection. That's going to be a big thing for him. He struggled with that at UCF, and some of it is due to size. Some of it is just technique and just a aggressive physical mindset of if he has that mentality or not. But like you always say, small on small in terms of pass protection. You want to get him up on linebackers, not on edge rushers and defensive tackles. So if you get that linebacker flowing through, Spags over at KC with Kansas City, he's going to send somebody. So you get that nickel corner or that linebacker free. Can RJ Harvey consistently hold up at the point of attack? If he can do that, he's going to carve out a three down role for himself for the foreseeable future.
Without a doubt, and I think that's what they did. They drafted a 3-down running back. But DP, it's time to head to Indianapolis. We're going to talk about Mr. Adonai Mitchell. There are reports that he may be struggling in training camp. We're going to get into that, maybe some reasons why, identify how could he get better. We're going to talk about AD Mitchell coming up next.
Ever wish that managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one single place. So in addition to managing your money, you can also build the wealth that you've longed for. I know I have, you have as well. And one thing that can help me and is starting to help me and my family build that wealth is tracking our spending and stop spending so much on takeout. We instead of ordering out, we go ahead and buy more groceries, cook more, and save more. We spend less. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. AD Mitchell, Adonai Mitchell for the Indianapolis Colts. Going into year 2 for him. Just been an up and down season. Not season, but training camp for him. Still, the things he does well, speed, size, route running, all those things are there. He's still separating. He's still winning one-on-ones, still getting vertical. The issue, he's not caught the ball well during training camp. He has not caught the ball well at all. And it's weird because it's happened with both quarterbacks, Zane Jones and Anthony Richardson, but it's been more with A-Rich. And it's weird because A-Rich and Tyler Warren have been cooking. AD and Daniel Jones have had a better connection. But AD has struggled with drops. Like, you know what I mean? So it's essentially like, yeah, you can route the guy up, get open, but if you don't secure the ball, it's all for naught. It's the same thing on the hardwood. You get that nice flashy crossover, you better pop that three. You better hit that shot.
Like, you gotta make it. Like, cause
you gotta make it.
Yeah, you like you said, you shake them and then you wide open for the three, and then everybody's standing there looking like
everybody's
you missed it. It's like right.
Everybody's ready to go crazy. You gotta hit the three, man. I think for him is I don't know if it's a mental thing. You want to see, because honestly, when I look at this Colts wide receiver room, if you said DP, who could be the best receiver in this class in this room? It's Adonai Mitchell. He has the entire skill set, the size, the ability to elevate. Like, was he a 4.3? He ran 4.3.
Yeah, he ran a 4.3.
You know what I mean? He can jump out the gym. Great route runner. You know what I mean? Really good route runner. But the problem for me, Keith, I think, and I'll go back to that New England Patriots game where they ended up beating them late in that game. A-Rich threw a go ball to him, a dime. And I think it might have been Marcus Jones, who's like the 5'8", 5'9" corner out of Houston from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
One-on-one with Adonai Mitchell, who's like 6'3", and you get muscled at the catch point by a smaller defender. And it's like, that's one of them situations you want to see him dominate that rep and come down with it. He ended up the ball gets knocked out of his hand. Marcus Jones causes the pass breakup. That's one-on-one. If that's Jamar Chase, if that's Justin Jefferson, that's a catch. Easy. Now, I'm not saying you got to be one of the best in the league right now, but Cortland Sutton, that's a catch. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of receivers in the league who has 5'9" to 6'3". That's a nice height discrepancy. With the jumping ability. So I think for him, it's just playing more physical. That's going to be like, because he's a very finesse receiver. And that was my thing with him coming out of Texas. He was always just that finesse guy, the route running, separation, things like that. But you want to see him play to his frame and to his size a little bit more at the catch point. If he's able to do that, I think he's going to really be able to take over that wide receiver one role. They pay MPJ, and MPJ is solid, but I don't think anybody on that. Maybe Alec Pierce. Our boy Alec Pierce has been cooking since training camp. Like they say he's gotten a lot better with route running, change of direction, all that type of stuff. So he might be the guy too. But if it's him and Pierce as 1A, 1B as the receivers going forward for the future, that's a really good situation to be in with two young guys.
Yep, I agree. DP, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna start with one of the sayings we always say on here, right? Revert back to the scouting report. And in your conversation, I pulled up my scouting report from a couple years ago, and I know you just and this is funny that this happened, but you hit. So we have two sections, right? We have the strengths, we have the concerns. Now, the concerns. Watch this. Consistently high pointing the ball. You just said that. Playing physical through press defenders. You just said that. Concentration catching in high traffic areas. You just said that. All three of them you hit on, right? Which were in the report. And so and this is not about, and we don't do this, right? Like just get on here, talk negative about players, things like that, right? We identify what he needs to improve. What I think may have to happen, DP, I think that AD Mitchell is a big body wide receiver, right? Like, and he fits the profile of like, man, you should be an X, right? But I wonder if he fits the profile more of a Z or a slot. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? And it's tough because you like, man, you got it all, right? Like you should be our X, our number one wide receiver, but that comes with a different mentality, right? And if what we've seen at Texas is now somewhat translating to the NFL, then we have to find some way for him to be successful. And I think the way for him to be successful is him operating out of the slot. And that way he has more space to operate. So like you talked about, that eliminates the physical press defender stuff, right? And then if he's operating out of the slot, outside of the slot fade, shouldn't be too many times where you have to go high point the ball and out muscle a defender, right? A lot of them going to be running to a spot, getting open, right? Finding the open spot, getting open. There's going to be a lot of two-way actions. Boom. As soon as you come out your cut, turn and look for the football and catch the football and run. So I wonder if it's just going to be a position change for AD Mitchell that may have to happen because, like I said, it's funny that everything you talked about was literally point by point. My 3 bullet points in the report.
He's such a talented player. And I mean, when you look at NFL Pro, I pulled that up to look at his profile from last year. He ran 148 routes out wide last year, and they put themselves in such a conundrum because I think when they drafted him, it was in the mindset of to develop him as an outside receiver. You know what I mean? So you look at him, Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce. All three are 6'3", 6'4". Bigger body receivers. Then you have Josh Downs, who's your slot.
I forgot about.
So that's what they put themselves in a little bit of a situation because Josh isn't going to play much outside. Now, again, you go to, of course, empty. Yeah, Adonai can go in the slot opposite.
Man, that's tough.
Of the formation. But then the 11 personnel, you're like, oh, Adonai, we might need you to be on the outside. You know what I mean? So, like, that's why he has to. Those concentration combat catches, like the triple C's, man. Like he's got to catch those. He's got to lock in and make those grabs. And because if you're able to do that, that's when you become unguardable. Because already DBs are going to have a hard time defending you one-on-one. Like he routed guys up left and right last year, right? Like, and again, like A-Rich had his accuracy issues last year, so they didn't always connect. But he was routing guys up. But then when you get the opportunity to be the grown man in the room and make that big boy NFL catch, you got to make it, man. Like you can't just route guys up and not make the catch that's thrown for your body type. He's 6'4", almost 200 pounds. To watch Marcus Jones go up and out-compete you at the catch point was crazy to see last year. That's and I think for him, it's a mentality. Like, and we knew that about Marcus Jones coming out. When he came out, he was like, man, he's small. He don't play small though. Like, you know what I mean? Scrappy. He's one of those, he's scrappy. He's one of those guys that's like, you gotta tell him he's 5'9". Like he don't play like it. So I think Adonai Adonai Mitchell has the potential, in my opinion, if he would hit his ceiling, to be a top 10 receiver in this league. because he literally has everything. Now it's like, hey, can we make those consistent catches? Can we make those combat catches? Can you play physical? You know what I mean? And play physical enough. Like, I'm not saying throw guys off like Jamar Chase do. That's not your game. Jamar Chase is strong like that. He likes it. He likes the contact. He invites it. Then you play right into his hands if you do it. But with you, I don't need you to do that, but at least be able to bring down those contested grabs. Because you think about it, if you do have a guy hip to hip, what's the go-to throw on the outside? Back shoulder. You know what I mean? Can you make that back shoulder throw against contact? When a guy playing chest to chest and being physical with you, those are things you need to see differently. Because again, as great of a route runner as you are, unless you are in the slot, you're not going to route everyone up. You're going to have to make some, and I'm going to pull up real quick. You have to make, because NFL Pro has it. I think it's look at the cushion, and it's like, no, not cushion. It's I think it's like tight window throws and stuff like that. Separation. So, yeah, on the tight window throws last year, he only had 6 of them thrown. He was 1 of 6. He was 1 of 6 when it was a tight window throw. He's got to be able to make those and help the quarterback out. Because if not, you are going to be more of a power slot. And if Josh Downs takes off as a slot, we can't put you there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I've in that me talking about that, I forgot about Josh Downs, and I don't foresee him unseating Josh Downs because everything that Josh Downs does, from a technical, instinctual, smooth, understanding the game, high IQ, like he's the prototype for a slot wide receiver in modern day NFL, right? As present day. So you're not going to unseat him, I don't foresee. So it's going to be a tough situation. And the Indianapolis Colts, I think, while the quarterback position and them figuring out who's going to play quarterback, what's going to be equally as important is how y'all going to find roles for these wide receivers. Because a lot of talent, but you have to figure out where you're going to place these guys and in your route tree, who runs what route best, right? To put everybody in a good position to win. So we'll see how that goes. But DP, let's go to Mr. Trey Harris. Yes, the rookie wide receiver who's drafted to the Los Angeles Chargers. There have been reports that this young man is impressing early. Can he work himself into the starting role? Trey Harris with the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's talk about him coming up next.
Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need the extra pick-me-up, that boost to stay sharp and energized. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen to Day and Everyday Shot, for being our everyday. As Trey Harris has been impressing for the Los Angeles Chargers, rookie wide receiver out of Ole Miss, also played in I believe he played in the Hall of Fame game last night as well. And Keith, with me with Trey Harris, and I think if you're Justin Herbert, you feel really, really good when you break the huddle and what you potentially will have in 3 wide receiver sets. You know, you got Ladd in the slot, who was your best receiver last year. This has been probably the best training camp we've seen from Quentin Johnston. You know, we haven't jumped off the bandwagon. We still
not yet. DP, I might be going to the wheels fall off, baby.
I'm rolling with my guy, man. But he's been making those over-the-shoulder catches and catching it with his hands and making big plays down the field. And then you look at what Trey Harris can do. Trey Harris is proven right now through camp that he can be that kind of 3-level wide receiver, be the possession guy if you need him to be. He's running, like, he's been very difficult to cover in one-on-one situations. Some of the one-on-ones were posted to Twitter, and I'm just like, man, that DB was in hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's spinning guys around. He's creating separation at the top of his breaks, at the apex of his route, but also like against zones and how sure-handed he's been. And we all know that the one thing about Justin Herbert, he fires the ball in there. You know what I mean? Well, is it always a perfect pass to always fire it in? No, you need to take some of that steam off, but he'll rip it. So he rips throws against zone, and you just see just full extension, all hands, and this Trey Harris plucking the ball out of the air, getting against zone, finding it's cover 2. All right, cool. I'm gonna run my corner route right in the dead center, in the middle of that high-low part of the coverage. Make that grab, different things like that. And I think that trio of receivers will be very good for Justin Herbert this year. And I think Trey Harris keeps doing what he's doing now. Yeah, like he's going to be in that starting lineup when they go 11 personnel, and then it's going to makes it a little bit of a conversation between him and QJ. If you try to go to base, you go to 2 wide receivers out there. Me personally, if you're gonna go with two wide receivers and you want to run the ball like Greg Roman wants to do, you got to make a decision. Are you taking one of the big guys off, or are you taking Ladd off? I'm playing Ladd on the outside, telling him to block and Ladd being a smaller receiver, block and keep those corners out the action? Or do you trust QJ at 6'3", trust Trey Harris at 6'2", 205 pounds, these 200-plus pound wide receivers to do that? It's going to be a very interesting situation, but I like what I've seen and read about how Trey Harris has been performing.
Yeah, and I look at this depth chart, P. So outside of Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and Trey Harris, right? Let's move those out the way. You have Darius Davis, who, at this point in his career, he's been a special teams guy, right? And an important special teams guy. Then you have Jalen Reagor, enough said, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Then they have, further down the depth chart, Brendan Rice, Jalen Johnson, right? Guys like that. So honestly, DP, I look at it and I say that Trey Harris, not only do you have a clear path to start, right, that the Chargers need you to take that next step forward.
Right.
Just to be able to run like 3 wide receiver sets or even getting into 4 wide receiver sets, you're going to be an important piece of this. But I do like the way that they've structured this, because I think these are complementary pieces. And in the last segment, we talked about like, how does this fit, right, with the Indianapolis Colts, and like you kind of have redundant skill sets. This, I think, is different, right? Quentin Johnston, speed guy, vertical pusher, things like that, can take the top off. Then you have Trey Harris, who, in his time at Ole Miss was a possession guy, but also could push vertical, but is vertical in a different way. Like he's going to try to go get that 50-50 ball. And then also we have our guy, Ladd McConkey, who's, the slot wide receiver. It's shifty, electric, things like that. So you look at this wide receiver core, and while the entire room doesn't have depth, I think it should be a good young wide receiver core to continue to move forward. And Trey Harris has a key way to like kind of like, hey, like this is how you make an impact on this team. Like you have a clear path to be a guy that gets significant snaps throughout the entire year.
Absolutely, and I think that's what you want if you're the Chargers. And I think granted, Greg Roman is more of a run game coordinator than a air it out passing. Like if this was Kingsbury, you'd be like, man, yep, they're gonna be in 11 every single snap. They're gonna be in 11 personnel.
Yep.
I mean, but with Greg Roman, you're going to see some of those heavier sets, and I think that's going to be just a very interesting dynamic to kind of study and watch and see how they get the guys on the field or who's on the field in base personnel. If they go to 2 tights, things like that, see how that plays out. But man, I think with Trey Harris and Quentin Johnston and with Ladd, you have guys that complement each other so well, guys that can do different things, handle their role perfectly. And I think, crazy enough, there's a high ceiling with both Trey Harris and Quentin Johnston in terms of those big body guys that can stretch the field vertically, but also run routes and create separation in the short to intermediate. You know what I mean? And so far from like everything that I've seen when it comes to Harris is one of the better man coverage receivers in college football last year. Like when he got one-on-one while he was at Ole Miss, he was cooking. I think the misnomer going back to, I think, what was it, yesterday's pod we talked about, was it Dante Thornton Jr.? It was the same thing with Trey Harris, where people are like, oh, he only runs a handful of routes. I'm like, that's Lane Kiffin's offense. So I'm like, you're not running a full route tree there. But then you see him in camp, and he's routing guys up. He's getting open. He's winning consistently. And when you catching the ball and earning that trust from your quarterback, he's gonna want you on the field. So stock is up for Trey Harris with the Los Angeles Chargers, and I'm ready to see that first preseason game. See how much burn him and QJ get. Heck, I wouldn't be shocked if I wouldn't be shocked if they told Lad, "You're good. We'll see you week 1. We know what you can. We don't need you out here." But like, let those other guys go get that chemistry. Go, kind of go out there and work and get that. Get especially Trey Harris. Get your feet wet. Get those live bullets against a defense that's not trying to help you up after the play like your teammates do. Let's see how you handle it then. Same thing for QJ and watch that ascension. If that ascension can continue from what he's doing in camp right now, the Chargers have themselves probably one of the better young receiving cores in the league.
Yep, I agree. With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. And come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.